Accuse me of cheating on an open book, collaborative exam? Fine, I'll report myself to the Honor Council. This happened about 10 years ago at my American university. I enrolled in a class that two friends also happened to enroll in, an elective for our major. The professor, whom I will call Professor Y, told us straight off the bat that our entire grade would be based on two exams that would be open book, and we could collaborate with anyone else in the class, as long as we cited that we did so. Additionally, it was the kind of exam where you could submit it as many times as you want before the deadline. Professor Y's rules though were that he'd grade easiest on the first try, and much tougher with each subsequent try. Fair enough. Now, some background on this professor. I'm not defending him, but I do think this context is important. He immigrated to the States from another country where women are seen as inferior, and the often expectations of women are to be meek and quiet, maybe less so nowadays, but definitely more so when he was growing up. In class one day, a female student challenged the professor. He argued back. She admitted he made a good point, and he said to her, "You are very agreeable. You'd make a great wife." Now, at this point I probably should have reported him for sexism. However, we all apparently let it slide. He was in his late 60s, he had tenure, so I think we all brushed it aside as harmless. Hindsight 20/20. I am female, BTW. Fast forward a few weeks into the semester and the first exam is given to us. My male friend, David, and I did the test together. We submitted it on the same day. On the bottom of my test, I wrote "worked with David" because I wanted to follow the prof's rules. A few days later, we all got our first attempt at the test back. David scored the equivalent of about a C. Remember, he had further chances to improve. My test had a big fat 0 at the top with the word cheater written on it. I was shocked. I obviously held back after class and asked why this was written on my test, and Professor Y started screaming at me. "I hate liars. I hate people like you. You are scum. You are a liar." I could not believe what I was hearing. I was sobbing, explaining that he said, and it was in the syllabus, that we could work with other students. I asked where I had cheated, and Professor Y had literally underlined the first 5 words of one question where both David and I had started off the paragraph saying something like, "The reason that we are seeing these results is..." And that was it. I asked him why he thought I cheated, and not David, but Professor Y would not listen to me, continued to insult me until I left. Now, my university was super strict about plagiarism and cheating. We got emails like once a week about the Honor Council. All the emails said that anyone caught cheating would be reported to the Honor Council and sit trial. So, I went to their office and reported myself. They were all confused and were like, "Wait. You're reporting yourself?" "Not the professor." And I told them calmly that I had been accused and given a 0 without any evidence, so I wanted to sit trial. They incredulously told me no student had ever asked for a trial, but I was following the university rules and I was confident I would win. Needless to say, Professor Y was not happy. At the next class, he pulled me after class and screamed yet again that they were his rules in his class and he decides the grades, not the Honor Council. I said that's not the university's policy, and if he thought I was cheating, he should have gone to them. Since he didn't, I did. He was livid and tried to bully me to back down, but I didn't. We had the trial, and I obviously won. At the end of the semester, I organized a meeting with the dean of the school and filed a formal sexism complaint against Professor Y. The dean, also incredulous, promised to launch a formal investigation into this professor and would be meeting with him to discuss. I'm sure that nothing happened besides a slap on the wrist, but even a slap on the wrist was worth it. Edit. Wow, what a nice surprise to wake up to. Thank you all for the awards. I also want to add that I looked it up and he is retired, so nothing can be done now. I also stumbled upon his Rate My Professor page and LOL, his rating is 1/5 stars. Most of the comments are his tests are stupid and he grades based on his mood that day. I'd be very curious to know if these are all women writing these reviews. Also, my major is in a STEM field. I forgot to add this note, but there were only 3 women in my entire class, of like 30 students, but still, one woman was told she'd make a good wife, and I was accused of cheating. It's just such a shame that women are trying to break into the hard sciences and yet shit like this happens that discourages us. I also am so curious about why so many people have guessed BYU and why if it were BYU, it's not, it would change everything. Someone please provide more information. Second edit, thank you everyone who has offered more information on BYU's Honor Council. Thankfully this Honor Council was more focused on academic integrity and nothing like the HCO at BYU. Now to the comments. I feel this. I got accused of plagiarism in a Sociology 101 class because I used the term nonverbal communication. All I got was a mark down on my essay and a note that I shouldn't be reading former students' essays. So naturally I approached the professor and was like, WTF. He told me that the term had been a requirement to use in the essay in previous years, and that there was no way I knew what it meant when we hadn't reached that chapter yet. I just stared at him blankly for like 15 seconds because I couldn't believe what he was saying. I kinda snapped and told him, you don't think that I'm intelligent enough to know that nonverbal communication means communicating through nonverbal ducking ways? It's literally in the name. Jesus Christ, do you normally teach elementary school? He kinda just stuttered an apology and removed the demerit. I couldn't believe that a university had so little faith in their students that they couldn't believe that they'd understand a basic self-explanatory term. I've gotten marked down before by my AP history teacher for daring to be a history buff and knowing stuff that we hadn't gotten to yet in the unit. I got marked down on an HTML assignment in a computer class because I had been studying JavaScript along with HTML on my own, and I wanted to show off a little, just a button that did a little animation, and the teacher said it looked like a program wrote the code for me, like 15 lines of code total. My professor last semester accused the whole class of cheating because our class average was 85-ish instead of 75 like past years. Due to the pandemic the test was virtual, so he made it longer and made it open book. I'm sure some kids may have cheated, but how can you honestly think that adding an hour onto an exam and making it open book won't increase scores? Anyway, he flipped and made the next exam harder to spite us. We all did well again anyway, and he flipped but didn't report anyone because, big surprise, he had no evidence at all. How do you even cheat on an open book test? You're allowed to look up the answers. There's a difference between copying a correct answer and understanding it and putting it in your own words. Open book exams often require you to cite your sources, and regular plagiarism rules apply. At university level, and if the exam is well designed, there should be nuance to the questions which don't allow a direct copy-paste. Even if it's just on record that there was a complaint, it can help the next unfortunate person that has to deal with this dick. Good job. Plus, word of the complaint will spread to future classes, and encourage future students to hold him accountable. Forewarned is forearmed. I demand a trial by. Well, just the normal way is fine actually. Not sure what's worse, the way he embarrassed you in front of the class or that he assumed you were the cheater and not David. 1. Did David not come to your defense at all? 2. Did he annotate that he worked with you? OP replied. Sorry, I should have clarified. I waited until after class to talk to the teacher, so he didn't scream at me in front of the class. David was gone by this point because neither of us had realized it was linked to him. He did not annotate that he worked with me. While we were working together, we were just verbally discussing our ideas. Afterwards, I told him that I was citing him, because I'm a goody two-shoes who was worried about getting accused of cheating if I didn't cite him, lol at the irony. But he told me that we didn't need to because we weren't like doing the exam together. I don't blame him, he wasn't trying to be sneaky, he just didn't think we were working together because we were just talking it out and not writing our answers. I do wonder what would have happened if I hadn't cited David. The professor was so blatantly sexist that I think me citing David just gave him an excuse to look for any small similarity between our papers. The panel on the honor council were literally hiding smirks as Professor Y was defending his case against me. I mean, it was honestly ridiculous. Edit to add, David did offer to come to the trial, but the council said it wasn't necessary. How come David didn't get in trouble for not declaring that you collaborated?